Hey, you're boring. Stop picking your nose. You need some special water. Whoa!
It's no secret that I've been making YouTube videos for a really long time. Back in 2009, my cousins and I uploaded our first video and I took it on as a hobby after that. I kept this going until about 2016 when I quietly stopped making those kinds of videos for various reasons. For one, you can't exactly get a girlfriend when word around the school is that your YouTube channel is this much of a tongue twister to pronounce. They were honestly missing out because Special Water is a cinematic masterpiece. Luckily now I have this channel and I honestly couldn't be happier. I know it's hard to show when your only emotion is monotone, but this is the happiest I've been in my entire life. I get to talk about pretty much whatever I want without being labeled as a gaming YouTuber or AVGN ripoff. That one was a little bit true back then, but it still hurt. I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately, and I've been feeling a great sense of nostalgia for that time. A lot has changed since then, especially just this year alone. I had an all-expenses-paid trip to Miami to do some freelance video work. I finished my first short film with the second one already in the planning stages, and I'm going to be going back to school in fall for the very thing I can only consider a hobby right now. While reminiscing, I managed to find this. This is the Flip Video Ultra 2. This is the same exact camera I filmed all of my old Game Gang Elite Force videos on back in the day. There were some other cameras such as a 3DS I would use for all the stop motion videos, and this Kodak camera I would later use for all the Retro 1 videos, but I'll talk about this one later. For now, let's dive into the history of this thing and talk about the impact it had not only on me, but YouTube as a whole through the very brief run these things were on the market. The origins of the flip video camera can be traced back to parent company Pure Digital Technologies. Pure Digital Technologies were known for creating these small pocket-sized camcorders that look strikingly similar to what the flip video line of cameras would eventually look like. These camcorders were marketed in places like CVS Pharmacy. The way how they worked was that you could record around 20 minutes of footage, you take it back to CVS and have them directly transfer it to a DVD and repeat the process, just like a regular disposable camera. Eventually they would release the first in their flip camera line, the Flip Video Ultra. It retailed around $150 for the 30-minute model and $180 for the 60-minute model. The first camera was released around May of 2006. Digital camcorders for home use were still relatively expensive at this point. Sure, the flip camera had a very limited amount of space. It was missing features such as no memory card slot, virtually no settings, no special effects to mess around with, this god-awful digital zoom that just makes the image crunchier and crunchier, and the videos were still in 480p. And by 2006, 720p was starting to be marketed as HD. Back in my day, we weren't caught in 4K, we were caught in 480i. So why was the flip camera successful? It's pocket-sized and painfully simple to use. This was mostly marketed to families who wanted to film family gatherings and such. This was before cameras and cell phones were anywhere close to comparable, and for its intended use, 30 to 60 minutes was more than enough for a couple of minutes of cute family activities. Wouldn't know what that was like though. Its form factor also played heavily into its success. It's smaller than today's average smartphone and fits into the pocket easily. It has some bulk to it, but that's a given when it comes to retro portable tech. The camera's best feature is this little USB port that erects from the side. Me and this camera have a lot in common after all. You don't even have to worry about losing an external cable. It's always ready to be plugged into a computer so you can share your clips to YouTube, Facebook, and MySpace. It was 2006, alright? The software that came bundled in with the flip camera was extremely easy for anyone to use too. You just cut the beginning and end of the clip, choose which clips you want to use in order, choose a title and end slate, and you're pretty much done. I'm sure parents trying to piece together their family vacation didn't have many issues using the software. It also helped that the software didn't come bundled on a separate startup disk. It was already on the camera's internal storage when you plugged in the camera. When I was just starting off, this made it very easy for me to understand the basics of video editing. Honestly, the way how I got around this very primitive software was pretty big brain for my 12-year-old peanut brain. Usually when a YouTuber records a video, they record everything in one long take and cut everything as they wish later on. The Flip Video software would only let you trim the beginning and end of clips, no in between. What I would do is that I would start a clip, wait a couple of seconds, and then start my lines. I would also print out the scripts in like size 72 font and tape them right under the camera lens. After I was done with my line, I would wait a couple seconds in the same position, then get up and stop the clip, rinse and repeat. That way when I went to go edit the footage with this software, all the clips would just fade smoothly into each other without showing me getting up to hit the record button. When it came to gameplay, I would just record my playthrough on a VHS tape beforehand, aim the camera at the screen, and just give my commentary from behind the camera. It was a very DIY setup, but it worked until I had a computer that could run a cracked version of Sony Vegas like everyone else was doing at the time. Now back to the camera itself. In short, it was cheap and offered the bare necessities to those who weren't looking for the extra bells and whistles. And honestly, for 480p, the footage wasn't that bad either. The camera I have is the Flip Video Ultra 2. the second iteration which boasts a heavy 2 hours of footage in comparison to the mere 30 minutes of the original base model. Many other models would follow. There were many different colors, and if I remember right, there were even some with detachable faceplates that you could use to customize. There was even the Flip Slide HD that had a touchscreen and offered up to 4 hours of video storage. From the second these camcorders were released, they pretty much remained the best-selling camcorder on Amazon. They were so big, in fact, that Google was even interested in partnering with Flip and releasing some Google-branded Flip cameras. This didn't pan out as Google became more interested in buying YouTube, and you know what happened after that. Years of unnecessary Google Plus integration, that's what. With the Google deal falling through, the company was eventually bought out by Cisco in 2009 for $590 million, and later shut down by Cisco in 2011, marking the end of the Flip camera era. So what was my ass doing with one of these amateur pocket-sized camcorders? The answer's pretty simple. I was a broke-ass kid, and this is all I had at the time. By the time I started making videos with it in 2012, 480p was still passable as quality footage. Nowadays, you get crucified if it isn't even in 4K. While the company Flip Video was long gone by the time I received mine in 2012, I wasted almost no time and immediately started making videos with it. These camcorders were notoriously big on Amazon and pretty much reigned as #1 in the camcorder category. And my aunt, who passed it down to me, was big on ordering off Amazon and those home shopping channels for some reason. The camera she handed down to me came in this off-brand case I don't have anymore, and this funky looking tripod which honestly didn't offer much in height. It was like an extra 2 inches from just setting the damn thing on a table or a stack of books. My original one has seen better days. It's all scuffed up around the lens and has various battle scars that I honestly couldn't tell you how they got there in the first place. The main reason I stopped using it is because I had a flood in that elusive basement I used to film all my old videos in. This camera was on the ground and it got soaked in some yucky jungle juice. For a while it just didn't turn on, but my 13-year-old handy-manny ass thought I could do some DIY repairs on it. Hey, I disabled the lockout chip on my NES earlier that year. I was feeling crafty. In an attempt to fix the screen and get all the water out, I managed to rip a ribbon cable, and now it's fucked. You can still see the screen if you shine a light on it, but you can't record anything with it. So it just kind of sat on my bookshelf as a little relic for the longest time. I did plug it back into my computer for this video, and I found the original video files for a video I made back in 2014, the Fluffy Puppy song. Honestly, of all the cringe that's on that channel, I was hoping it'd be something cooler. But hey, this unedited footage is something I thought I'd never see again, and it helps me date to when this camera was last used. While the Flip line of video cameras was the first to really do it, there are many other small pocket-sized camcorders that were created to fulfill this niche, similar in vein to the Flip camera in the wake of its success. When it came to continuing my aspiring YouTube career, I was given this Kodak Playful ZE-1 the following birthday. This is the camera I used for almost all of my old Retro 1 videos. When I say these pocket camcorders made an impact, I really meant it. It's very similar to the Flip in design, and it's slimmer and thinner, which makes it easier to slide into a pocket. I got mine secondhand off eBay, and it didn't come with any pre-packaged software that I was aware of. It does have a share button on it, and if you so desire to input your Facebook or YouTube info into the device, you could upload straight from the camera. I was already using cracked Sony Vegas at this point, so there was no need for this. Like the Flip camera, it also has a USB port that can be pried out of the top of the device, albeit a bit flimsier in design. Me and this camera have a lot in common after all. You can only hold 6 seconds of footage on the camera, so this was technically useless since there is an SD card slot that you will be forced to use. The main selling point for me is that it could record in 720p, but hey, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess. Eventually I would start using my iPhone 7 Plus I had at the time until I got my hands on my current camera, the Panasonic Lumix GH5. We're getting out of the trenches soon, I promise. For the sake of this video, I did buy another Flip Video Ultra 2. The same model and same color as my old one. Mostly because I wanted to see how the image quality compares today, and it's just fun to mess around with old camcorders like this. The quality might suck, but there's a certain charm to it. Also, it's very difficult to purposely create VHS looking footage. Have you seen some of the filters people are using? That, and I thought it'd be fun to compare this camera I paid $20 for off Macari to this DSLR with an art lens I paid $3,800 for. Should be stiff competition. So this is a comparison between the two. So this is how I look and sound like in the Flip Video Ultra 2. It's been a while since I looked and sounded like this, so it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. I'm honestly not even sure if I'm in frame properly because there's no screen to flip out and show me what I look like. I remember the onboard microphone being particularly crunchy, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. I honestly wish I had more to say, but... So this is how I look and sound like on the Kodak Playful ZE-1. For some reason, I had to move this camera back a bit further than the Flip camera. Maybe that's just because the lenses are a bit different, but for some reason, even though this is the 1080p HD camera I was using back then, I have a feeling that the quality is going to be a little bit lesser in comparison to the Flip. Maybe that's just because the screen's a lot smaller and lower quality than the Flip's that it looks bad when I'm recording it. I honestly don't even know if I'm in frame properly because there's no flip out screen. I have no idea how I put up with that back in the day. But yeah, this is how I look and sound like on the Kodak Playful ZE-1. But this is how I look and sound like now on my professional DSLR Panasonic Lumix GH5. I honestly don't know what I was expecting comparing the two to this one. I'm sorry, I'm off script, so I'm like slurring my words. But yeah. This is how I look and sound like now. And that was my first camera. Let me know in the comments if you have any memories of the Flip video cameras or what was your first camera in the first place. Thank you so much for watching and have a nice day.